Hi, this is DJ Ken J with Ken J Audio. Welcome to I Want to Be a DJ. This week we're going to talk about the media playback component of your setup. This is the most important piece of your setup, and we're going to talk about three different options for media playback. Now, the one we're not going to talk about is the one that you see your professional DJs using, which will be the two turntables or the two expensive CDJs with the Rain mixer or a Pioneer mixer and a MacBook Pro. We're not even going to talk about that because that setup is too expensive for you starting off and too extensive of a learning curve for you to learn to DJ with. That's for those professionals that are doing shows with thousands of people or they're in the club DJing. Then you need that type of a setup. So we're not going to talk about those. So the three main ways we're going to talk about to playback media are tablet, self-contained units, and we're going to talk about having a computer with a controller. First setup that I mentioned would be a tablet. Now, I've told you before in my previous videos that I don't recommend using a tablet. And here are the reasons why I don't recommend using a tablet. Number one is perception. You don't want to get to a gig and all you've done is plug up an iPad to some speakers or a tablet like a Surface Pro to some speakers and start playing music, because you're going to give off a perception that you are not a professional DJ. And you're going to see starting off that you're going to be fighting a perception from clients that all DJs do is just hook up a laptop or a tablet and they play from a playlist. The second reason that I don't recommend a tablet is because, for one, if you're going to use an iPad and you already own an iPad, you know that space is limited. You can't hook up an external hard drive or use a memory card to play music that you have stored on there on the iPad. Now, the Surface Pro, you can do that. However, that brings me to my third reason why I don't recommend using a tablet, and that is because they are expensive. The cheapest Surface Pro with enough processing power and enough hard drive space to allow you to DJ is going to start off at around $600, and you haven't even bought a controller yet. Because yes, you can buy a controller and hook a controller up to a tablet to give your setup a more professional appearance, but you're already going to be spending more money. Also, with tablets, you're limited with regards to upgrading those tablets. So once the components or that tablet is outdated, you pretty much have to buy a new one. You don't have options to upgrade memory. So that's why I don't recommend tablets. Perception is number one. Number two, if you're using an iPad, there's an issue with memory. And then the third reason, they're expensive. Now, the second way you can playback media is to use a self-contained unit. Now, with the self-contained units, you have CD players that have the connectivity for a thumb drive or an external hard drive. But if you get those, you have to have two of them, and you have to have a mixer in between them so that you can mix from one to the other. Now, the cheapest of those units, they run you about $400. So to get two of those in the mixer, you're already getting into $1,000 for a setup. And also, those cheaper units that you get, if you notice on the pictures that I'm showing you, the screens are awfully small. And remember what I told you before, when you start DJing, when you get those first few gigs, the nerves are going to get to you. The people are going to get to you. And if you have a small screen with limited visibility, trying to scroll through and find the song can be difficult in those situations. Also, another issue you have with these self-contained units, especially if you get a controller that's a self-contained unit and it has the CD players on the controller and it has USB connectivity, is that if it goes out during the gig, you've lost the centerpiece of your operation with limited backup possibilities. So I don't recommend this option for media playback. And I left out one reason. Another reason why I don't recommend it is because it can get expensive. And with the more expensive units, you have a lot of buttons. You have a lot of menus that you have to go through to get to certain operations and a lot of knobs. There again, starting off, your nerves can get to you during a gig, especially if you're getting pressure, and it will make it very cumbersome to do a good job on that gig, because you'll be fighting through trying to find menus and search through trying to find what it is that you're looking for, whether it be effects or if you're trying to loop a certain section. It requires a lot of clicks and button pushes to get to what you need. And I know this from experience, because I'm a Newmark guy. I love Newmark controllers, have always used Newmark controllers, and I have a friend that bought an NV. Wonderful controller, self-contained unit. It has Serato built in. However, when I used it, it was very cumbersome just trying to do minimal features on that controller. Which brings me to another reason that I want to mention about self-contained units, and that's that the software is proprietary. You don't get your choice of software to use with those units. Whatever software comes on those units is what you have to use. So if you buy one with Serato, you have to use Serato, whether you like Serato or not. If they have some other proprietary software on there, that's what you have to use. So remember those reasons when you're selecting your playback media component of your setup. The third option I want to talk about for media playback is having a separate computer and controller. Now this is the preferred method. Why? Number one, it's two separate pieces. So if you want to upgrade a computer or upgrade your controller, you have the freedom to do so. Second reason is you have more options for software and controllers, because it's not a proprietary single unit. Also, more memory and the capability to upgrade the memory makes it a better option. Also, very professional in appearance. When you have a DJ setup with a computer and a separate controller, and your clients see that, they're going to have the perception that you are a professional DJ. And also, if the computer or the controller malfunctions during the gig, you can still keep your music flowing during that gig and not have that dead space that is so dreaded during the gig. So that is the option that I recommend. Now when we talk about computers, I'm not even going to get into the PC and Mac debate and tell you why I prefer Mac over PC. We'll save that for another day. But I do recommend that you get a Mac to do your music. And I know that's probably going to make some PC enthusiasts upset, or you may disagree, but Macs are just better with what you want to do when it comes to music and DJing. And the most common thing I hear from people when I say get a Mac is better is that I can't afford a Mac. Well, if you've seen the prices of PCs lately, PC laptops lately, they are very expensive. They are as expensive as a Mac. And I'm not talking about the netbooks that you see, because that is the number one thing that I'm going to tell you right now is do not use a netbook to DJ. They don't have the processing power. They don't have the memory, and you cannot upgrade those. Those are for exactly what they say they are for. Browsing the internet and doing documents, like working on word processing documents or other things in the cloud. So please do not buy a $200 netbook and try to use it to DJ. So now I'm going to tell you how you can afford to get a Mac. First thing that you want to do on your computer or your mobile device is go to the Apple website. Then click on Mac. Once you've clicked on the Mac section, then click on the OS icon at the top. Then scroll down to Upgrade Now and click on that icon. Then scroll to the section near the bottom of the page that says Mac Hardware Requirements. This will give you a list of Mac computers and laptops and the model year that will get the latest OS update or operating system update. Now for DJing, I recommend either the iMac, MacBook, or MacBook Pro. And I also recommend that you get a model year that is 1 to 2 years newer than the current earliest year the upgrade will get. Next, go on eBay or Amazon and search for a used MacBook or iMac. And now you can purchase a MacBook or iMac with confidence because Mac computers last for years, number one. And number two, all of the OS upgrades are free. So that's how you can afford to get a Mac computer for your DJ setup. Now here are a list of specifications that you want to look for whether you decide to go PC or Mac. There's certain specifications that you want to look for in the computer that you're going to purchase. Number one, you want to have at least an i5 Intel processor. If you do anything below an i5, you're going to be looking at latency issues, hiccups, and lack of processing power. Number two, you want at least 8 gigabytes of RAM and the ability to upgrade. Be careful of certain computers that have a flash RAM in it because you can't upgrade that RAM. So if your computer starts to malfunction, or you find that you have lack of processing power, or you have the lack of ability to perform certain tasks at the same time, you're going to be stuck with that computer. That's why I didn't recommend a MacBook Air or a Mac Mini, because they have built-in RAM on the computer and you can't upgrade it. Also, you want to have at least 250 gigabytes of hard drive space. So those are the main components that you want to look for when you purchase a laptop or a computer for DJing. And if you noticed, when I talked about the processor, I said to get an Intel processor. AMD processors have wonderful specs. However, and I've experienced this myself when I've had a recording studio before, you may have an issue with connectivity with the AMD chipsets on the AMD based computers. Are they fast? Do they clock faster than Intel chips? They may, but there's going to be a lack of stability, and you may have connectivity issues with certain components that you buy to use with that computer. So make sure that you get an Intel chip, at least an i5 Intel processor. And remember, no netbooks. You do not want to use a netbook to DJ. It will not work. So that's all I have for this week. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, be sure to leave those in the comment section. And if it's a question, I'll be sure to try to answer that question as fast as possible. Next week, we're going to talk more about DJ controllers and software. And it's going to be a short session, a short video, because you're going to be very surprised at what I tell you during that video. So until next week, this is DJ Ken J from Ken J Audio signing out.